Legend has it that the jade dragon and the golden phoenix once owned an auspicious pearl, but it was stolen by the mother queen of the West. When the jade dragon and golden phoenix tried to wrest the pearl back from her, it fell to earth in a place called Hangzhou. The pearl is, of course, the famous West Lake, a place that is rich in beauty, history, and legend.
Each of the 10 famous scenes of West Lake has its own unique characteristics, with one exception. It is orioles singing in the willows. The fact is, willows are a common sight all around the lake, while orioles can be heard almost everywhere. So, what is it that makes orioles singing in the willows so special? Art, it is sometimes said, is the creation of an abstract from a generalization. In this sense, orioles singing in the willows is true art. The uniqueness of the scenery is its very commonness. It's the mountains and waters that make it one of the 10 scenes of West Lake. The origin of orioles singing in the willows is found in literature and legend. It was a woman writer who first described the orioles singing in the willows in the long ballad, Destiny of Another Life. The writer was Chen Duansheng, and she lived 2 centuries ago. The magic of her art was to depict orioles singing in the willows as a vision of peace and serenity. In spring, Qingbo and Yongjing gates are dotted with willows and flowers. From time to time, the cries of swallows and orioles can be heard. It is said that originally there were only 9 famous scenes of West Lake. One spring, a young man named Liu Lang met a beautiful maiden who had been changed from an oriole. The two fell in love and were married. After their wedding, the couple wove a roll of brocade, which they called Orioles Singing in the Willows. The brocade was a symbol of the emotional bond between people. This bond was the essence of life, without which the passage of life would be no more significant than returning home at sunset. The legend has its own emotional momentum, which carries us to the core of human existence. Another story concerns Shenlaoduan Hill. This ordinary hill is said once to have been the meeting place of the immortals. An old woman who sold them wine happened one day to drink an elixir, which turned her into an immortal too. Even so, she continued to sell her wine, which became so famous that the writer and statesman Wang Anshi came in search of it. The legends have largely passed from memory. The hill, though, remains just as it has always been. The wonder of the scenery and of the legends associated with it made this scenic spot in the southeast of West Lake a natural choice as one of the 10 famous scenes. The characters carved on the rock read, "Destiny of Another Life." The words reflect the dream of a lady of rare talent. In the eyes of an artist, the hut, though small, has a significance that belies its size. The hut was the home of the lady writer Chen Duansheng. Though she lived a sad life, she did leave behind her a masterpiece, an epic ballad called Destiny of Another Life. Chen Duansheng's life and her masterpiece are woven into the fabric of the mountains and waters of West Lake. In 1751, the 16th year of the reign of the Qing Emperor Qianlong, a baby girl was born beside Westlake. She would become famous later in life as the writer Chen Duansheng. Born to a literary family, she demonstrated unusual wisdom and intelligence from a very young age. When she was 18, she began work on the book Destiny of Another Life. At 23, she married a man named Fan Qiu-tang from Huainan. 6 years later, her husband was exiled to Yili in Xinjiang, and her mother died. These setbacks forced her to stop writing for a while. It wasn't until 4 years later, in 1784, that she started to write again. For the next few years, she worked on the book. But before she could complete it, Chen Duansheng, at the age of 45, passed away. Later that year, Fan Qiu-tang returned home under a general pardon issued by Emperor Jia. But he found everything had changed at his old house. The last 3 chapters of Destiny of Another Life have been completed by another famous female writer of the day, Liang Desheng. She was the wife of a high-ranking official at the imperial court. For Liang, a noblewoman, completing the book was an amusing diversion. She did not empathize with the book and gave it a perfect ending that would have sounded quite ironic to Chen Duansheng. Given her tragic life, a happy ending was something she could only have dreamed of. 1,000 years after his death, Qianliu, king of Wuyue, was reincarnated in the form of a sculpture erected on the southern shore of West Lake. The heavy boots, the iron armor, the bow, and the eyes gazing far into the distance all contribute to the image of Qianliu, standing proudly once again on the land he once ruled. It is in part thanks to the generosity and wisdom of Qianliu that Westlake enjoys such fame today. After he founded the state of Wuyue, Qianliu was urged by his religious advisors to have Westlake filled in so that his court could be established on the site. Doing so, they said, would be propitious and promise him a long reign. Qianliu, however, rejected the idea. China, in its long history, has been divided longer than it has been unified. But even in times of division, unification was always what the people dreamed of. Wuyue, south of the Yangtze, flourished for just 72 years, in the brief period between the Tang and Song dynasties, both of which ruled the country for more than 300 years. But throughout its brief existence, Wuyue's 5 kings pursued a policy of peace with his neighbors. As a result, Hangzhou and the rest of the region south of the Yangtze were untouched by warfare and fighting, and the region became a bastion of peace and prosperity. This tradition of peace has been continued for 1,000 years. It is no wonder that even today the people of Hangzhou respect Qianliu. In the spring of 978, Emperor Taizong of the Song dynasty sent a letter to Wuyue demanding that it submit to the authority of Song. Chen Hongchu, king of Wuyue, made the decision to acknowledge the suzerainty of Song. And so the state of Wuyue disappeared. But evidence of its existence is still seen today. Wuyue's legacy includes the great Buddhist scripture carvings at Lingyan Temple, Jingzi Temple, the 3 temples of Tianzhu, Li'an Temple in the woods, graceful Baochu Pagoda, sophisticated Leifeng Pagoda, Liuhe Tower by the Chentang River, and numerous mountain grottos. It's easy for those who stroll through the willows to lose track of time. Before they know it, another famous sight, sunset at Leifeng Pagoda, is before their eyes. As the boats return home at sunset, the sound of a bell's deep ringing can be heard in the distance. Orient singing in the willows, with his unique artistic appeal, exerts an influence that is stronger than that of natural scenery. In the modern world, it is something that surpasses comprehension. It is an ancient philosophy of life.